In the words of the legendary Lou Gellerman, hello, dog fans, and welcome to the Sound the Siren podcast, because everything matters, including it's shopping season. Certainly in the transfer portal, but also potentially in the coaching portal. I'm your host, Hooligan7, at Hooligan7 underscore STSUW on Twitter. I am joined tonight by Hood Husky, at Hood Husky on Twitter, The Darker Knight. I am underscore KE11S on Twitter, and at DJS K Woodham, otherwise known as DJ K Woody. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Can't complain.
Fabulous.
I'm big good, man. I'm big good.
It's been a momentous day, but of course we got to start with beverages. DJ, you can kick things off. What do you got tonight, bud?
Just that H2O.
I'm gonna put a bet in. There's gonna be 3 H2Os, and I'm gonna feel like an alcoholic. Hood, what you got?
Essentia, that high quality. She in the other room though, misbehaving. So I gotta go grab her at some point. But yeah, my shorty Essentia is probably in the kitchen somewhere.
That is that high quality.
Got that 9.5. I want that alkaline 9.5 as well. The good old fashioned H2O, high quality
H2O. Well, in my case, there's some frozen H2O in my glass, but I am sipping on a Tip Top Manhattan.
Oh,
so
that's how you feel?
Ooh, Lisa.
That's a good one. Damn.
That sounds good though.
Little canned cocktail.
That sounds good.
It's not spelled right, but it's a Dogfather glass that my better half got me for Christmas last year. So, referring to Apollo and Lucy, not.
Shouts out to you.
I'm not trying to take over for Don James by any stretch. All right, well, let's get into stupid tweets. Who's got something that we need to discuss? Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, I got one. And I was saying this, I don't think I said it to any of you guys, but to my other friends, one of the reasons why I wanted Oregon to lose the Big Ten championship is because, many reasons, but one of them is I knew if they win that and then they win all the rest of the games, they're going to claim that they're the greatest team ever. And here we are, Oregon at Oregon Homer. If Oregon manages to win the Natty this year, they will have the sole claim to being the greatest college football team of all time. He said that yesterday, and I knew this shit was going to happen, and so I'm just hoping they lose, obviously, but yeah, because they're going to be talking so much shit forever. They do.
Yeah. In a similar vein, I'm gonna call out Puddles at Scoducks with a Z, with the schedule release, in which we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the pod about UW's football schedule for next year, but saying that he was doing a little trolling and trying to claim that they've got 8 home games. Yes, they've got a pretty good record in their last 10 games at Husky Stadium, but we're very much entering the metaverse, because if Husky Stadium is home for them, how do you describe what the University of Washington is to the space between Dan Lanning's ears? Because we ain't.
Come on.
Duck fans, like we said last week, you can claim that he was being sarcastic when he said that he goes to bed thinking about Washington, wakes up thinking about Washington, but
he wasn't.
We got video evidence that proves otherwise. We'll just say it that way. Darker Knight, you got stupid tweets that we need to talk about this evening?
I actually did have one, and it ain't got nothing to do with a mallard. You know what I'm saying? It's tough to even think about them people right now. It's the state rep Josh Williams of Ohio, man, who was trying to put out, or he opposed, authored a piece of legislation that would disallow any team from planting a flag in the middle of Ohio State's stadium. So that's mad weak. Even if you're trying to troll, your fan base don't even vibe with that energy. I know y'all saw me on the TL with my little hashtag real rivalry, we kind of, we're losing the majority of pageantry, of our game, and I just want to hold on to something. And if I can hold on to some types of rivalries where they are spirited, I'm with that energy. So, Josh Williams, your stupid tweet of the week.
Darker Knight, you got one? But I agree with that because, yeah, that's softer than a shit after Taco Bell. We might have temporarily lost DJ. Hopefully we get him back.
Yes, sir.
So no stupid tweets, Darker Knight.
No.
Good to move on to Husky Couture.
Did.
I will say it's not a stupid tweet, but it's an unfortunate graphic. In and speaking of the schedule release, with the lightning of the Husky Gold in the last 2 decades, the graphic that they posted with the schedule release, it is pretty difficult to distinguish between which games are home games and which games are road games based on the color, because it's white for the away games and it's a very light beige for the gold. So yeah, that's something we need to clean up a little bit, and we did get DJ back. I was just saying that we need to darken the gold up again because the schedule release graphic, very hard to distinguish between the gold for home games and the white for away games. But let's go ahead and move into Husky Couture, and I'm going to shout out a great 12 Days of Christmas deal from Simply Seattle, and call out a jacket that I haven't seen before for my Husky Couture item, and it is a Washington Huskies Classic Columbia black puffer jacket, but it's got the panting dog on the chest there. So
panting dog making a comeback.
Panting dog's definitely making a comeback, and for your blackout needs, for future blackouts at Husky Stadium, and I'm not talking about because you've had too much alcohol. Don't do that. You'll miss the game. But
do it after.
Exactly. Do it after once the result is known. You have my permission, all our permissions at that point. But who else has some Husky Couture to talk about tonight?
Yeah, I just got this hat. It's another Simply Seattle shout out. I think last time I was talking about that deal they had. I ain't gonna show one of the hats because I want to show my favorite hat of that one, the one I paid for. It's that bad boy right there. You know what I'm saying? I had to get the black, but then, when I saw the throwback icon, oh man, I had to. And the colorway, I needed something in the color, man. I needed something in that, and that's gold, man. That's not champagne. That's none of them colors. That's
no beige here.
No beige here. No mother of pearl. None of that. So.
All right, DJ, you got something?
No, I don't. My bad.
All good. Darker Knight. Any new finds this week?
I'm one for a lot of vintage throwback stuff. So if you guys happen to go to another local company, Ebbets Field, go ahead and get the throwback Husky W from the 60s. They got some dope vintage Husky gear there as well. So shout out to Ebbets Field. If you guys have a chance, go check them out.
Yep, absolutely. Love that place. Too expensive for my budget, but I love that place. All right. Well, we've got 3 topics to discuss, and I will leave it up to all of us. Do we want to talk about Belichick and potential staff changes first? Do we want to talk about portal wish list, or do we want to talk about the 2025 schedule release that happened today first?
I think started off with portal information and news.
Okay.
I would like that, just maybe some of the departures, stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the portal. Certainly some big names from around the country going into the portal. Certainly some players from Washington that we wish nothing but the best for. Including punter Jack McAllister, offensive tackle Kali Tafai, Lance Holtzclaw, and who was the other edge? believe one other edge might have.
The guard
and
went to the portal.
Guard Memolar, Tristan Dunnett from the
Maurice
defensive
Hines.
backfield. Certainly wish those guys well. Oh, Maurice Hines, yep, sorry.
Yeah.
Like 10 walk-ons I never heard of.
Well, and yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm just being real. Good luck to them, though. Good luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the truth.
Oh, well, and Cam Davis.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Big Cam.
Cam Davis, Cam and Sam.
Yeah, Sam Adams.
Cam and Sam. Come on.
I got the tracker pulled up.
Cam and Sam.
Full list is so outgoing. We got Khalid Tafai, Curly Reed, guard, Cam, Jack McAllister, Adam Saul, Maurice Hines, Caleb Johnston, Tyrese Johnson, Sam Adams, Tristan Dunn, and Cameron Certain, and Lance. And then Byron was the first one, but that was back in September. So we got some work to do.
Yeah. Camden's
on the flip.
That is crazy.
On the flip side, and I don't think necessarily I think we still are going to see players that are entering the portal. Certainly, there's been a lot of surprises, even at the quarterback position. Cal starter Fernando Mendoza is in the portal. Caden Salter from Liberty. It's going to be interesting to see how confident our feathered friends to the south are in their development of Dante Moore, whether they're going to go portal shopping for a starting quarterback again. But certainly, and I think the standout, I'll quickly go down my wish list. I would love to maybe add, particularly with the departures of Cam Davis and Sam Adams, one more, an upperclassman running back. If we can find one to be kind of in that RB2 or RB3 mix, ideally like a change of pace to Jonah and Adam, just so that you're not putting undue pressure on Jordan Washington as a redshirt freshman, and then Julian McMahon and Quade Carr come in as true freshmen. Just to have one more in that room, I think would behoove us. Certainly, if we could, I'd love to get one more big receiver. I don't want to go crazy at receiver in the portal at all, because the youth in that room is special. I think there's some special players there, and that's certainly a spot that you can play early and prove a lot. But other spots that you gentlemen think that need addressing, I'm leaving a few of the obvious ones.
O-line, D-line, yeah, obvious. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I want to get on the wide receiver topic, like a burner, like guy that can stretch the field. I mean, we have some that, I don't know, they're not like speed guys, but they're quick. But yeah, I want to get one of them.
We have some speed guys coming in.
True. But I mean, they're true freshmen, but so it's kind of hard.
But it's a spot where, particularly as a speed guy, you can play and just go run down there and I'll throw it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, the obvious ones, O-line and D-line. We need some starters, or especially on the offensive side, a couple guys to come in and start for us next year, which is going to have to pay a lot for that. And they can't be shy about overpaying or whatever the excuse was last year. Like, you're going to have to get some of those guys, because some schools, they don't have to overpay, but we probably will. And in our situation, some years, if we needed like an offensive lineman, whatever, like 2 years ago for an Addy team, like that would have been someone could have came on a discount. But yeah, we're gonna have to shell out some money for sure.
I think one thing too, just specifically just the offensive line. It feels like defensive lines have had offensive line's number for quite some time now. You know what I mean? So when you talk about overpaying for offensive line, I think a lot of teams out there are going to do so just off the strength of somebody's got to stop this ridiculous talent at edge and defensive line. You know what I mean? They've really been dominating. A lot of these, I'd say national championship runs and things like that. If you look at any of these Joe Moore award-winning offensive lines, they've not had the same amount of talent as some of your top 5, top 10 defensive lines. So I agree there. I think O-line may be somewhere where you potentially may have to definitely overpay. I think defensive line, you can kind of mask a lot of things with fit and body type and those types of things. So I think you can mask a little bit more there where you may not need to overpay, or you can just get 2 or 3 bodies to kind of accomplish what you're trying to do. So, yeah, overpay for O-line for sure. I'll actually add a position to that, and I'll say the one that I'm looking forward to is linebacker. I feel like there's a lot of impact linebackers that aren't going to be super expensive, and not only that, but they're fun and explosive as well. So I think you have a lot of them out there, some local, some national recruits, but I think that's a room that you can.
Some with NFL pedigrees.
Come on. Hey, look, the last name in that pedigree, yes, sir. So yeah,
he doesn't need to try. He can just run to Washington, and I'll be fine with that.
I'll take it, bro. I'll take it. And match that up with maybe 1 or 2 more guys, because you gotta think you're losing 2 6-year players. So it's not the fact that it's a talent thing. You know what I mean? There's a command of the locker room that you're kind of wanting there. There's a tone setter that you're kind of needing there. So when we're monitoring the talent at linebacker, it's not going to be about just skill. So,
yep.
I think we really need another, at least one other corner.
Oh, go ahead.
Losing that is huge. I mean, that was our 3-man.
2 of those, bro.
Everyone else, I think, are just kind of athletes or kind of playing a position. So, yeah, if you want to play the type of aggressive style defense that I believe we want to play, you got to have guys who can lock up and not, you know what I mean, kind of be put on islands and in a position to fail. So, unless we're going to be a primary, kind of cover 2 scheme zone defense, I think you're definitely going to need some guys who can mirror and lock up.
Yeah, you need another.
I completely agree. That's my favorite. You already know how I get down about
the attitude, the swagger, everything.
If there's anything where I'm gonna talk trash,
I love them. Yeah.
I'll tell you, as far as any of the official offers, I've been trying to keep my cool about them, but I'm like, I like they type, bro. I like they type right now. I like it. I'm gonna be quiet for now, man. Yeah.
I mean,
and of course we are now.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead,
No, this is more important. JCAP is here.
Yeah, we got our guy JCAP.
What's good,
JCAP, how you doing tonight, bud?
Doing good. How's everybody?
We're doing good. We're talking about our portal wish list, not necessarily player specific, but position specific. But we do need to check beverages, stupid tweets, and Husky Couture items of the week for you.
I don't have stupid tweets or Husky Couture ready to go, but I have high quality H2O tonight.
Come on,
Well, what kind of H2O you got?
Just filtered through the
same
filter at home.
He said homemade.
We got that mid quality, but I got that too.
Average quality H2O.
Hey, look, you just gotta boil it and put your own minerals in it.
Could you imagine?
Crazy, y'all laughing. I feel bad now because I really be doing this.
You wanted something like, hell yeah.
On point.
Yeah, bro. I thought somebody was like, you know what minerals I put in
the same shit.
Thank you.
Kind of. Pretty similar.
Hey, white golfer hats, it's the move.
Let's go.
Hey, bro, I saw that. Yeah, come on. Those are hard, bro.
JCAP and I did not intend to be, slightly on the verge of twinning tonight, but but here we are.
Twins.
So yeah, we've thus far with our portal wish list, we've talked about a couple of corners, getting a couple quarters down to the room. Certainly, maybe a change of pace running back to not put pressure on the young players in the room to have to step up right away and let them develop at their own pace. A little at receiver there. Anything that stands out to you in terms of, high items on your wish list of what you'd like to see us add in the portal?
Have we talked about the trenches yet? Because that's the big one.
A little bit, but we can talk more about it.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
That's the main one.
Segments on the trenches,
I mean,
okay.
we need some a little bit at receiver or at tight end or some specialist type stuff. Obviously, they're bringing in a long snapper for a visit. We got a tight end coming in for a visit.
Yeah.
We got They got that safety from Northern Arizona coming in on the visit.
Was that white guy?
McLaughlin? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got to say, there's not too many of them.
I completely,
That white guy.
I did the
that
same
one white guy
thing.
that plays football.
Yeah.
Bro, I looked up his picture and I said, I gotta watch the film.
Yeah, no,
he's nice, bro.
They got that, but I mean the glaring issue. I mean, we all watched the game against Oregon. I mean, it's the trenches every time. So I mean, I want to see some of these offensive linemen start to get announced for visits.
Yeah.
I think the only real trench player that we have that's confirmed visitor is I forget his last name, from Texas, the defensive line.
Yeah, from Texas, yeah.
Yeah, Beret or something.
Former fourth.
Bledsoe?
Yeah.
And I got a lot of Texas friends and followers now. From last year, just shooting the shit with some of them.
Yeah.
And going into the season, the two guys that ported out, they were actually excited about seeing those guys contribute this year. So, for whatever reasons they didn't, but they were the ones that were the off the cuff names. Bledsoe, obviously. I forgot the other gentleman. He's big as hell. But they were the off the cuff names mentioned. So I was caught off guard. Okay.
And we offered a D-line from Arizona, right?
Yeah,
Uyangalele, yeah.
An underrated position that I think we'll need is a quarterback,
I agree.
Yeah, because I mean, Damon obviously is going to be our guy, but his style of play can get hurt, and so I want a reliable veteran who's had some starting experience be there as a backup, so we don't have to rely on Dash to be
someone who's good holding his clipboard.
You'd have Dash and Keeney. Yeah,
exactly. Scout team, go kill on scout team.
I mean, you still do have Shea on scholarship.
True,
but
true.
I mean, we don't really have too much as far as like experience, but it's going to be hard to pull any quarterback with any good starting experience when you're going to be coming in to sit behind him on. But it's going to be like a Patty O'Brien type beat. So
either that or like a lower classification.
FCS,
yeah, that's what they call it. Like UNLV's guy last year sat behind Miller Moss this year.
Jaden Mayava.
But they let him know, you're coming here for this, So I think at the end of the day, a guy like Fish is transparent.
Yeah.
Just in regards to just kind of narratives, I want one thing to kind of like slow down or end. There is no wide receiver 1. There is no wide receiver 2. There's no RB1. Like, enjoyed what Jonah did this year. Enjoyed what Denzel Boston did this year. But that has nothing to do with the level of talent we should be, thinking about bringing in. We don't want somebody to compete with Jonah's carries. We don't want somebody to compete with Denzel's. No, like, I want another wide receiver 1. It was Jacob Cowan, wide receiver 1, and Ted, McMillan. There were 3-4 running backs in that running back room that they could have relied on all season. Jonah just happened to be RB3 that they were able to rely on all season. So I want somebody to come in there. Michael Wiley, DJ Williams. These are guys that are NFL guys. Rayshawn Luke was their, I think, running back 5-6. So I would really, really like for us to kind of go after top flight guys that are going to take carries out of guys like Jonah's hands and catches from Denzel. Specifically, just at the running back position in this conference, every running back in this conference got beat up, and you needed a RB1 next to you to kind of hold it together.
Yep.
Ohio State, Michigan, everybody.
And particularly, and this is certainly not to disrespect Damon at all, but how much easier is Damon's job as a true sophomore starter if you have 3 or 4 guys in the running back room? It's just like, we can become, kind of a Big Ten West team. Like, look at what Iowa did to us this year, but do it with 3 or 4 backs and just honestly just wield the heavy fucking hammer and beat people to death with it. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, particularly as and one of the things to going back to your point, Hood, and we've talked about it a little bit, and certainly it's been talked about on some of the other shows that I listen to. Like in the transfer portal era, you're not going to the defensive lines are always going to have an advantage, and it's going to be the lines like Oregon's this year, like Washington's last year. The more you can keep an offensive line and a group of players together as long as possible, the better. That's why I want, going into next season, I want to see a big step forward from Paki Fino. I want to see a big step forward from Landon, because it's that repetition. And this is something that carries over to the NFL. It's the lines that play together longer are the better lines, because they know what the other one's going to do. But you're going across the entire country. You're not going to see that as often when your tackle 3 transfers out because he gets to go start somewhere else. But when run blocking's easier to do, lean on it.
Run the ball. Yep, I agree.
Come down.
Well, anyway, I'll JCAP, just kind of tie you in too. I also was saying, O-line is the only position, and maybe corner. O-line is probably the only position that I would overpay.
I said that in the GC, man.
Oh, see, see, I think defensive line you can accommodate with bodies and skill set and numbers in general. If you got 8 guys that throw at people, you can take an L somewhere, But corner, I think you can't miss. You can't miss. I think at least the majority of Big Ten teams had at least wide receiver 1, and not some ass player. Even Jacob Gill at Iowa was formidable. Could beat you. So corner, definitely I would overpay there. And offensive line, I'd overpay there, specifically tackle.
Yep. I mean, I think we've talked about it a little in the GCs. I think one of the other things is not necessarily a player specific or a position specific. We need to land at least one, and I'd love to see it to be 2 guys who damn, Washington landed that player.
Yep, agreed. I agree.
Just we need to particularly this isn't to speak ill of the high school recruiting class at all, because it's a great class. But with what happened at the tail end, where we had a couple of flips to a certain program, we need to reverse the narrative that if Oregon wants somebody, they get him, or that that we're basically shopping one-tiered. It's not the highest trim level of a car. We're getting one trim level down.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Particularly if we want to stay relevant long term and get back into the national championship conversation and contention level, you have to get just a couple of guys that shit.
I'd say the first time, that that we've seen that, since 2019, has been in this class with Mills and Harris. I feel like we came out of nowhere with Harris. I would say, albeit I'm pretty sure Dash was putting in that work, but you didn't just take him from some rinky-dink head coach. You didn't take him from some rinky-dink program. Same as Mills, and the fact that you didn't flinch on grabbing your 5th receiver, you didn't flinch on immediately having a guy there, when ZS decided to leave. So, when it seemed like we were desperate in those types of situations before, 5 offers go out the next day to 5 different offensive linemen when a dude flipped, this is a whole different vibe and energy. So I'm relatively confident that we'll run into those situations where we'll pull somebody from somebody, or maybe even start out in pole position when we've never done that before. So just starting off, so
that's it's that start out in pole position and just lock them up.
I mean, you got I think one of the huge elements that we don't really talk about is how hard do you think it is to lock down and keep RVB, Chris Lawson, these guys. So how many people were in their DMs or texting them that were of these schools that we're talking about, that were able to hold them off. So, obviously that's not public knowledge, but that's valuable stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into the staff conversation in a little bit, but
yes, sir.
Casey should get a raise right now.
Yep,
because that class is.
I mean, Jed mentioned it right in his signing day pressers that there were schools coming and attacking this class. I mean, the strength of the class, obviously on offense, is at the wide receiver position. So I don't doubt that there were a number of people coming after. I mean, Tom Loy from 247 was talking about how Notre Dame was pushing for RVB. Again, there at the end, and we were able to hold off there. So that's huge. But yeah, I mean, it's not something that we've seen a lot from Washington over the last few coaching staffs to be able to hold off and stay firm with the commitments for some of these guys when the big schools come calling. So.
Yep. And I do think that that's a great point, Hood, about flipping somebody from Oklahoma and Texas and not like flipping a San Jose State receiver commit.
Exactly. Been waiting to see that. And then I kind of mentioned too, just publicly, and I try to do it with tact. I know it's very delicate, but I would think at this point it's kind of time to talk about this process being a part of successful programs, and that's like healthily finding a way to process players. I think on the flip side, when people portal out, there's always, assumption that things are negative or there's some bad relationship with the staff. No, at the end of the day, for the most part, you can see, I think Coach Prime mentioned it, but it's something that Jeff Fish is doing as well. You can see it in Tafai, to be honest. They're recommending their guys to other coaches and other coaching staffs. You know what I mean? So that's really stand up to me. Really, really like that. It's not just a get out of my program. It's a, hey man, like, that guy over there does really, really well with what you need right now. You're good at this and that, but I got these two places. I'll put you in contact with them. So I feel like a lot of our guys get that when they're leaving with this regime.
When they're pushing guys out, it's a lot of times it's what's best for them too. They can get some playing time at a maybe a lower level school or something like that, because they can be like, hey, look, you're buried on the depth chart here. You're going to stay buried. Like, you want to play? You should probably look somewhere else. So yeah, it's not always negative.
Yeah. I mean, and it is commendable because it's like, if there's any position on this team where you're like, I want to hold on to everybody just because we might need them because injuries happen at that spot, even if they're going to be a depth guy, it's offensive line and defensive line. But even then, they're saying like, okay, let's do right by the kid and give him a chance to play more somewhere else. I'm not saying that college football coaches are saints by any stretch of the imagination. We know better than that, but it is certainly a respectable aspect.
But why did
this is a business, and it's a business for everybody, And I think the other thing that bears mentioning is this is a business for everybody now.
Yep.
Why did Tafai transfer out?
Business going on.
Who? Tafai, or however you say his name. Did I say it right? The left tackle.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it.
Why?
No, I said Tafai. Is that wrong?
No, you got it.
Okay, all right. Why did he transfer out? Like he was going to be probably a starter. Was he just trying to get paid more?
Been a starter
or what? Saw the writing on the wall.
I think he was penciled in as a. Yeah, they're bringing in tackles, and potentially they could have asked him to move inside and play guard, and he doesn't want to. He can go find another position somewhere else in another school,
and that's a playing guard. Like that's a position like with what we signed in this class, with what we brought in last year.
Yep,
it's an easier spot to fill, and it's also a much more competitive. Like, I mean, just look at the tape. Like, Pocky Finau's going to be a dude.
Yep. Pocky Finau is going to push for playing time big time.
If Pocky Finau is not a dude, I quit.
Well, I'm sure, Fish had that NFL mindset to do exit interviews after the season and try to see where guys would fit best and if it was good, if they thought they'd be a part of what they want to build moving forward. And they thought, potentially, what I'm guessing is they asked him, how would you feel about moving to guard? And he was just, I want to do that. And kind of have to have that tough conversation. So,
yeah, and if you're not a P5 if you're probably, or if it's going to be a stretch to be a P5 tackle or a top 20, top 25 program, on the low end tackle, best spot's probably somewhere else.
There's also an element too where I think these guys came in and we're talking about, be a pro. And, not every program has that, philosophy or that, that culture that people are trying to establish. Some people want to be a collegiate athlete. You know what I mean? And have a lot that comes with that. So, and this isn't speaking about him specifically, but it's more so to like, highlight fit matters as well. Some kids thought that a program was what they'd wanted, and then they find out that, hey, man, this is not what I want. And maybe these other options are over here actually fit what I'm doing as well. So there's an element of fit. And then also, too, do you mesh with your brothers? That's another element as well. So, it's not always about, things that are on the field as well. So.
Yeah. So continuing on in our portal conversation, and speaking of maybe some narrative, I definitely ultimate wish list, it might be a little bit of frosting. Like I just want good players at every spot, period. But I wouldn't mind taking a couple of the kids from USC and bringing them up north and having them prove out in purple and gold to just drive a little bit more of the message. Be like, SC could talk a lot, but they ain't proving shit
At all.
Are you talking like someone like Bear Alexander?
No, I'm good.
Not him. Yeah. Okay.
No, I think he can go to Eugene. I'm just fine with
he probably
that.
will. He is, I think.
That's a Eugene player.
That's a SMU player too. Shoot.
BYU.
But
that's a new player.
But no, like you talk about needing maybe one more, particularly in my opinion, it's not necessarily a burner because I think you can get some of that that speed receiver from the incoming freshman class. I'd love one more big receiver to replace Jeremiah, and whether that's Nizia Hunter from Cal or a Deuce Robinson from USC.
I'll take Deuce.
Deuce. Deuce is a player.
Bro, and then get like a DT Sheffield. Oh, Claude, have mercy. Mercy.
There's some good receivers in this
group. Put him in it. He's having a religious experience.
Bro, I'm telling you, man. Look, he's my shepherd. Also, too, like I was saying earlier, man, that linebacker spot, if you lock up, like, just in any type of way, you lock up Trotter, you can get, like, Big Mike. You could even throw Alexander in there with Kamori House. Like, I'm chilling off that. You got speed, athleticism, and thumpers, and you ain't, with all due respect, you don't have to spend some crazy amount of money, on certain people. And this is, get your money, X and Big Mike and stuff, but you don't got to spend no crazy type of money for that.
But it's also about you're managing resources, and unfortunately, like right now, like I'd love it to change, and I hope it does change, that Washington becomes a program that on top of the revenue share money of $21.5 million that will go to largely to football players at the University of Washington to become one of those programs that spends $15 to $20 million in NIL on a roster every year. I don't think we're there yet. I certainly want us to get there, but right now you are working at a slight disadvantage in terms of total financial resources. You've got to be smart about where you're spending your money. And yes, and certainly like you talk about, Mike Montgomery, Najee Alexander, like you could make a compelling case for them and a very compensating case for them without breaking the bank.
As a business right now, would you want to be Arizona State or would you want to be, Ohio State right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, you spent all that money to get to a certain spot.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
Like, you can find, would you want to be Indiana? You can find ways to do both. To I love Kurt Signetti saying, production over potential. With all due respect to the young guys, production over potential. One of the big things why I kind of really was on their bandwagon this offseason was because they went out and got experienced veteran guys. Like in my write-up, I was like, they went out and got 4 or 3 receivers with over 100 career receptions and then Elijah Sarratt. So it was just like you get a ton of experienced players and match it with above average collegiate talent. and you can win at the highest level. This isn't the NFL. It's not good on good every week. Some teams suck. Some players suck. You just got to lean on them. We couldn't lean on Rutgers. We couldn't lean on Wazoo.
We could. We kind of did lean on Rutgers.
We kind of leaned on Rutgers a little bit,
yeah.
I mean, and like I said, and that's why, like, I think Grady's certainly trended the right way over the course of the season, and I have a lot of confidence in him next year because, like, also in the thing, I think, like, it would be one thing if Grady had missed all those kicks this year, like, and he just was nowhere close.
True.
He was missing kicks like this far.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we have some money to spend, and if you think about it, we have our quarterback. We don't need to spend money for a big-time quarterback like some of these schools. We have our number one wide receiver. Those can be expensive. I mean, getting a linebacker or two, that's not going to be. I'm just going off like NFL terms. Well, yeah, he might be, but like, I'm going off NFL. Like, linebacker's not an expensive position. Like, we can conserve a lot of our money probably towards offensive and defensive line.
Yep.
And I mean, other teams are too, but like, we have these like higher paid positions. Even like DN, like, I mean, yeah, we can get another one, but we don't need to.
Tackles and edges.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to spend
Come
money
on. And the corner and the top flight corner. That's
we know we have at least $16 million that we're able to spend if we want to spend it. Otherwise, that'll get allocated to the players based on what's not, kind of spent. So you can go as big as you want, or you can be
NIL.
NIL.
Okay.
Sorry, I know we've been talking about this a long time, so I got one question though. Like, what's out of the guys that's portaled so far for UW? Like, what's the one that you're probably like most disappointed in, like, or like sad that he's leaving or something?
None of
them.
I
got one in mind.
Disappointed in any of them.
None of them.
Not in their decision, but like wish they would stay.
I mean,
Lance
you're not
was
losing
right
any
there.
impact guys. I mean,
I think
I like Holly and Lance, I guess,
Yeah, Lance is the one for me.
Yeah, Lance Holzclaw is the one for me. I think we didn't use him enough this year.
Yeah, go
ahead, Hooligan.
I was just gonna say, like, I think it's not necessarily like under the circumstances. Like, I wish the player, another one that I'm like, I wish the player absolutely well, and he's gone through a ton with coaching changes, with injuries. If I could wave a magic wand and, change some of the circumstances of a player's career at Washington, it would be to give Cam Davis a healthy 2023.
I'll give you that. Yeah, he would have.
And not just for sure, not just for Cam, but
he would have to leave
for Washington.
He came back running different.
Yeah,
like a healthy Cam in 2023.
Man,
I have a hard time saying that. Given a healthy Cam, which gives you an opportunity to keep Dylan fresher, changes the way that, like, I don't think you end up having to win.
Coming off that 2022 momentum too.
Right, coming off that 2022 momentum and the way that, like, they were saying that he was playing in camp before he got hurt.
Yep, he was RB1 in camp.
He was
RB1 in camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it changes the dynamic of, you don't probably have those 10 consecutive wins by single digits or by 10 or less.
Grubb's still throwing, bro.
Some of them, yes. But some of them, yes, but all of them, no. And then it also, because Cam, like, if Dylan's fresher, Mike doesn't lose his safety blanket in pass pro in the national championship game, and it changes the tenor of that game. It might change the tenor of that game as well.
I guess, I will say, to Phi in regards to, like, projecting impact, but that young man is going to be successful wherever he goes, as long as he, obviously stays focused and puts his mind to it. On a personal level, what I'm saying, I know the Darker Knight feels this one because ain't nobody worried about him. But, man, bro, losing my dog, man, losing my dog Lance, bro, that's one for me. That's a guy that you just, whether here or anywhere else, you just wanted to get the opportunity. That's a guy that was one of the glue pieces to the class that he was a part of, advocating to bring dudes in. He did it the right way, waited his turn. And I just personally felt like
who was given the opportunity.
Made a huge play, and obviously
you got that energy.
You got that energy. We were lacking that on defense, and obviously with changing so many staffs and having to prove things over and over and over again as a smaller guy, and then they bring in 3 of your same body types that they actually know and they're familiar with their personalities. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I'll say Lance, and then just enjoying his opportunity. That's a guy I'm gonna be rooting for surely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, as long as it doesn't go to one team, which I don't think they'll take him. I'm rooting for him too. I don't think they don't.
He's visiting BYU this weekend.
Yeah, his announced visit. I was like, that's an interesting fit, but that's a Holos Claw fit though. To be honest, like,
got lots of white girls there.
Christina Aguilera. That's a Jeezy song.
I need to edit that out.
I know. I got the reference. I knew what you're talking about.
Okay. All right.
He gonna soak that all up. He gonna soak the culture, the energy over there. He gonna soak up the playbook.
No.
Oh man. Woo! Somebody call Nerf. Super soaker.
But speaking of BYU, or more maybe in regards to the schedule, it's a good segue to the schedule in BYU. Let's talk a little bit about the 2025 University of Washington schedule, in which 5 Big Ten opponents will be coming off of byes before they play the University of Washington. I don't want to go through those because I'll have to click through too many pages to find them, but we'll run it down real quick in terms of who we play and when. So open the year with Colorado State at Husky Stadium, UC Davis the next week. We've got a bye before the Apple Cup in Pullman. And then Ohio State comes to town in September, on September 27th. Then on the road to Maryland the following Saturday. Rutgers at Husky Stadium the following week. Then back to Ann Arbor, home to Illinois, at Wisconsin, home to Purdue, at UCLA, and then home to the Ducks. Obviously, we'll still have to see where the Friday games shake out. Hopefully, it's not becoming a further travesty. But we do have 7 home games again. And one nice thing that I will say, I do think it's ridiculous to play 5 teams coming off of a bye. But we do play 9 games on the West Coast next season.
Yeah.
So
that matters more to me than playing teams coming off a bye.
Isn't until November 1st. So
we have
week
3 bye.
We have a week 3 bye,
and then a week 10 bye.
Okay, I'm looking at Capel. I'm looking at Capel reposting it, and I do see the week gap.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't put bye. I saw that too, but yeah,
he put bye on the 1st, so I was like, bro, what?
Yeah, no, we get the bye
after
Colorado State and UC Davis.
That's so random.
Yeah, I wish the bye was one more week later, but I'm not too mad about where the byes are. I mean, it could be better, but I'm just more mad about the 5 byes for us.
Repia says something about it, like on our behalf.
Yeah,
that's
Yep. I would always prefer to have a bye going into the rivalry game, but I mean, it's whatever.
I agree. Marinate.
Yeah, I mean, it was just too late though in the season last year because I mean, yeah, it is nice, but I like where the byes are at better this year.
I agree with that.
I mean, I do get your point though, JCAP, but
there are some brutal schedules in this conference. What?
Wisconsin.
They're fucked.
Yeah,
they might as well hold all their NIL money for the next year.
Their coach might need to change his name from Luke Fickle to Luke Fuckle.
Bro, he's fucked. He's fucked.
Because that schedule is.
That schedule's crazy. I think ours is tough too as hell.
Ours is tough, but there's a couple of obviously you have an opportunity it's I love, to be honest, I love catching Ohio State then. because they're going to be still putting some pieces together. Obviously, they're going to be an incredibly talented team, but they're going to be missing some pieces from this year.
Mm-hmm.
You catch them before they've had a chance to really get in a rhythm and gel. You catch them at home.
And they're likely starting a
as you go
sophomore
down the
quarterback.
schedule, like obviously, the trip to the trip to Michigan will be tough because it's the big house. It's Michigan. They're a team that can drag you down into a rock fight and win it. But Illinois, and then coming home, and Illinois is a good team, but if we get most of the items on our wish list out of the transfer portal, I feel pretty confident. I feel pretty confident about our ability to beat Illinois at home. Wisconsin has to play Oregon on the road before they host us. There's speculation that Luke Fickell could be fired after that game with as tough as so you're talking about potentially playing a team with an interim coach in that game. And then, I'm sorry, and as good as I do think Barry Odom is a good coach, but Barry Odom's not going to take this year's
He is not going to do. They got talent, but
that much.
He's got a lot to do in a short team.
They got young talent, bro.
They've got some young talent, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hajj Malik Williams follows him.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying I think Ryan Walters got fired is because, bro, he fumbled a decent roster this year. Like they hit the portal hard and got some solid players on offense and defense.
But then, I'm sorry, UCLA. I think Deshaun Foster. I have a lot of respect for Deshaun Foster, but I just don't think that. And this actually is something that will probably come back up when we talk about the coaching market out of today's news. But
UCLA will always be a trap game to me.
You better go find some.
UCLA will always be a trap game, but it's also one of those things that if
look.
Until they prove from an administration standpoint that they're serious about football, they don't have a Dorian Thompson-Robinson on this roster, and I agree. And that was the only way they beat us really 2 years ago.
I think that. Well, I mean, you're not done with the schedule.
3 seasons ago now, but there's a lot that what I'm saying is that you can carry.
This isn't a bad schedule at all, actually.
You've got a pretty good chance to be carrying. You're probably on a 4-game winning streak, or you've got a very good chance at a 4-game winning streak heading into the rivalry game at the end of the year.
Well, and then you just think about everything Ohio State loses this year, and their culture right now is in shambles. You catch them in week 5. Catch them early.
Yeah, week 5.
Yeah, week 5.
You catch them early. What's that first game in conference for us?
First game in conference for us, I think it's the first.
We have 4 really tough games. Outside of that, I'm counting Wisconsin just because it's tough to play there. That's the main reason.
Yeah,
but Ohio State, at Michigan, Oregon, and Wisconsin are the 4 that are probably going to be really tough. And outside of that,
the unfortunate part with Ohio State is that they are one of the teams that is coming off a bye into that game, but Ohio State's schedule, while we're talking about it, so they're home to the Longhorns to start the year. They play Grambling State, then they have a home game against Ohio. They're off, and then they come out west.
Crap.
We actually get Colorado State was kind of good this year. UC Davis is always kind of right? Aren't they usually mid upper tier?
They're good FCS team.
Yeah.
And then you go by and
making the
Wazoo.
I
think Wazoo, but
year after, right?
Cakest of the 3 early opponents going into next year.
Ohio State's losing a lot too.
And
well, I don't know if it's
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying all that, but I get what I get your point.
But you also have a vengeance aspect because I think we knew we left it on the table this year, and
I think Colorado State's pretty good. UC Davis.
I'd worry more if we were don't get me wrong, I would have preferred to play Maryland in November rather than October, but it's late enough in the year, and I'm not going to worry about Maryland because Maryland after the month of September is
that's actually a good schedule.
Unless you're USC, Maryland's not a problem.
Hey, I might agree with you about WSU if Mateer doesn't come back.
Bro,
But
he's
gone.
that man's gone. That whole roster
Materia
be
is.
like, who's
I think
paying
he's gone
me?
too. But they're trying hard to get the money
But
for
then
him to
who's he
stay.
going to throw?
They're gonna
Yeah,
have to do a lot
Yeah,
to
I
get
know.
that
no
money,
point in
The
boy.
Yeah.
entire team is gone.
That's why it's a
the
long
whole
shot.
Hudson's in
team
the
is
Chris
gone.
portal.
Hudson, everybody
Like Sean
stayed.
Parker's in the
Your
portal.
OC already left. Like, no.
I'm just thinking, like, you can't really catch a super gauge until this winter window is over. You can kind of like, you can't write off the spring because there's going to be 5 to 10 splashes around the country in total in the spring. But like after this winter portal, you kind of can get more of a gauge of this process.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, and I think I was having one conversation, one of these national GCs. People that were giving me shit for our player acquisition and our roster, but then mentioning how, I think it was a Bama fan, mentioning how they didn't have the opportunity of having the winter portal to be able to get somebody. And I just kind of threw it on its head like, bro, you're literally trying to give yourself an excuse that I tried to give, our team earlier, but since you're Bama. Right. So
Yeah. It's like, oh, we
hit that winter
Bama, we
portal
could.
precedent it.
That's so funny because it's like, hey, Bama, oh yeah, we hired Kalen DeBoer late, so we couldn't use the winter portal. And who did you hire Kalen DeBoer from?
Bruh, dog, just idiots, bro. Well, you should have been did it. What? Well, now it's cool when you do it, but the point is just to say that like it like baffles me that you even won 6 games and you didn't get even to play in the winter portal. Like you had Will
other than locking
locking
down what the previous staff had locked up already.
Bruh, this is where, I mean, I knew it already, but this is definitely where the talent and the chemistry and the timeline works best, just with the quarters too, getting these kids in the first week of January. Like, we have an advantage there when it comes to developing chemistry, and we just missed out on all of that until the fall, bro.
Right. No, totally. And like,
That's
when we're adding pieces that, like we talked about, to the offensive line, the ability for them to actually get snaps and reps together in spring football.
These 15 practices, bro. Jed been talking about them since the week 4. It's more like week 6 or 7, but I think it was like Indiana game. He started talking about January. Yeah, can't wait for January. January's gonna be January. January's gonna have a lot of January in it.
All right. Anything else that we have to say about the schedule, or should we talk a little bit about the other things that impact the transfer portal and what things will look like in January at the University of Washington?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, good transition, Hooligan, because you mentioned the practices. Like, are we gonna have a full defensive staff coaching these practices?
Well,
or is that UNC gonna fuck us over and not take these guys until January 1, where they have no buyout? At least Steve Belichick.
I actually less like the factor that I want to know honestly is like, obviously we're talking about Bill Belichick accepting the head coaching job at the University of North Carolina, and the likelihood that Steve Belichick, who is his son, follows him there to be the defensive coordinator. And while it was said in the Times today that no changes will happen to the staff until after the coaching or after the Sun Bowl, or no announcements will be made until after the Sun Bowl, that doesn't work for me. If Belichick is going to leave, I want that known. Because right now, when we talk about like we were not able to take advantage of the winter transfer portal window last year, I don't want to be in the same situation this year and have players that we're trying to recruit to Washington being like, well, who's my position coach going to be? Who's my defensive coordinator going to be? That needs to be, and even if it's a situation where it's not announced, we need to have that basically locked up so that as you're recruiting in for the staff members that maybe, are going to pick up the ball for any staff members that follow Steve Belichick to North Carolina, to be able to say, this is who your position coach is going to be. This is who, like, otherwise we're going to be talking about, it's going to be the winter transfer portal window next year where we're going to be able to be like, okay, yeah, we're going to really, 2025 is going to be a good year and it should be a step forward regardless for Washington. But I don't want it to be like, we're going to be kind of punting on like 2025 is 2024 part 2.
Mm-hmm.
But 2026 is going to be where we're going to get back to where we should be. Like, that's you're just punting the ball down the field. And like, yes, we're in the conference where punting wins, but that don't fly for me. That does not fly for this fan base.
I think, what kind of like chills me out there is, their plan and their rapid response to everything that throws a curveball in their process off the field, right? Like on the field, we have, your concerns about adjustments, etc. But I think off the field, I just mentioned earlier about the recruiting adjustment, popping on the Mills and the aggression on Harris. There's already obviously like rumors about, certain types of coaches and things like that. It just seems like off the reflex, there's always some contingency plan. And that's one thing that I'll really have a lot of confidence in the staff in, is that while, publicly things may not be divulged, but I think privately, hey man, this person's not going to be your tight ends coach. He's going to finish coaching you through here. I think you can have those conversations with these winter portal visitors. We already have somebody in mind. This is, who it is, and this is what he's done. So I will say, not even to the point of just having a guy ready, but having the details ready, to pitch that. I just think these guys pivot very, very well off the field.
Yeah, I agree.
Too. So
I will say, I think you were hypothetically, or you weren't even hypothetically, I think you were just using spitballing and saying a tight ends coach. I think that tight ends coach at Washington is probably one of the positions I'm least worried about.
That's locked in.
That's locked in. Pow's not going anywhere. I would be shocked if that were the case. Like I said, I just want to make sure that we can take full advantage of the winter transfer window.
We got to see it, right? Like, you can have trust in, like, quote unquote hypotheticals and what they've been doing, but we still got to see it to be able to talk about it. I had to see about Mills and Harris to talk about it, so we got to see it.
You haven't won 8+ games. The staff has not won 8+ games at the University of Washington yet. The staff has not won 10+ games at the University of Washington yet. I got to see it to say, yep, they're going to do it. Like, I believe they can. I believe they will, because I think they're significantly better on the recruiting side of things, and yes, that matters. We just need to see it. But JCAP, DJ, Dark Knight, thoughts on potential coaching changes? Should we speculate on if Belichick moves on, who would be maybe on our short list if we were to hire a defensive coordinator at the University of Washington? Who would we like to see?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty clear 1A for me. It would be a Kaika Malloy. To continue the poly pipeline, and also obviously he's an alum here. He had UCLA's run defense playing at an exceptional level with very mid talent
this year, and look how good that defense was last year with great talent.
Right, exactly. And you're also talking about a team at UCLA that's not bowl eligible. So if they were to have these kind of plans in place and things moving in motion, it's like you can start that right now. The other name that's getting floated around a lot is Johnny Nansen, who has his own issues, is an elite recruiter, but
is less
not like but not like Malloy. He is going to be playing in the college football playoff, and that's a whole thing where you have to wait out that whole situation. He's competing for a championship right now, and
that's a good call.
How well are you going to be able to sell that to winter portal visitors? The winter portal window is going to be over by the time they're playing a game.
Yep, the winter portal is going to be over by the time we're playing a game.
Yep. That's true. Yeah. But I mean, like, you wouldn't even be able to make your DC hire to even tell anybody who it's going to be. So I think Malloy would be my number one of ones. And if for whatever reason that doesn't work out, there is also the option of doing a co-defensive coordinator promotion for guys like Vinny Sunseri and Robert Bala. And then going from there, you can hire a specific D-line coach or edge coach, and then give Kafusi his reign in one group instead of the D-line as a whole, and then be able to kind of just elevate those guys that are coaching their position groups very well and recruiting their position groups very well. Obviously, there is some speculation that Steve would bring Sunseri with him, and then you have to kind of roll with the punches there and then figure out what you're going to do. But I think there's definitely options for sure.
Yeah. I think certainly I certainly think certainly Akaika is my preferred choice for a number of the reasons that you listed. In that he also and this isn't any disrespect to Coach Nansen, but it's not only that Akaika has proven to recruit at a high level, but he's got more proven production as a position coach and as a defensive coordinator. As a defensive coordinator, what you said with mid talent this year or less talent, he still had a very strong run defense. But you look at the list of great defensive tackles during the Death Row Dogs era, with Chris Peterson, Vita Vea, Greg Gaines, Elijah Qualls, Tuli, who brought Tuli Gassanoa to Washington, Sakaika,
You
Levi.
Talking that out, JCAP, you really had me I was really stuck between, does Jed feel like he needs to go after those, Southeast region defensive linemen? And I think that's the only reason why you would really push Nansen. And then, but with the Malloy thing, I'm kind of okay, if the staff stays there, Bala and Sunseri, I like that from a schematic point of view. You have a dude who grew up in, CP's, PK and Lake system. And then you have, which relatively balances a lot of, conservative things and does it at a high level. And then you have these two dudes in Bala and Sunseri that have this experience with this hybrid aggressive. So I just really feel like that's a cool mesh. And then also having Deanton and Lynn that Akaika was working under last year, I like that a lot better schematically than just choosing a guy because he can recruit a specific body type. Guys like Bear Alexander show that it takes a lot more than getting body types and athleticism. You know what I mean? So after you kind of talk that out, I'm kind of man, I'd like Akaika matched with the current coordinators. Now, if those two guys decide to leave, which Hooligan, I told you, I just don't really see that. I feel like Bill has a huge network, and there's going to be guys that are former head coaches that are going to be position coaches, similarly to what Colorado has going on. So I don't know why you would pull, with all due respect to them, with your network, I don't know why you would pull those two. But I like that match. I like that match a lot, actually, from a schematic point of view and perspective. A bunch of front seven versatility, and we'll see how they do with corners. But
I think I agree with you about Bala and Sunseri. About it doesn't make a lot of sense, but there's a lot of smoke. A lot of smoke coming from UNC people and even some people on UW side. It sounds like they're going too as of right now. Maybe if they get a DC promotion, they might probably stay. But it seems like if they're going to stay at their current positions, they're going to head to UNC, which I agree. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but I think both of them were Belichick chain because Fish were Belichick. We're the Belichick train or tree.
They're his sons. The difference, I think, is they're his son's peers, and I think that's that comfortability, with the same message in the room and all that kind of stuff. Oh, we grew up
and more familiarity with recruiting as opposed to a lot of the New England guys that
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And there's the added
if you're not the oldest guy in the room or the most experienced in the room, sometimes those big voices can kind of kick your tail. I'm the one who taught you this, Steve. Oh well, you're my defense coordinator. Shut up.
I think the other thing, Hood, you and I and DJ were talking a little bit about a pre-show is, I think to some extent, 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said, or a year ago, I would have said Akaika, and it's not particularly close. I think Johnny Nansen has closed that gap. I think it really depends a little bit to me on the staff configuration. And it's if Bala and Sunseri stay, I think it becomes a very close, it's almost basically a pick-em between Akaika and Nansen, or maybe a slight edge to Nansen, based on what what positions he's coached in the past, and like he just need to come in and be essentially just replace Steve as the defensive coordinator. But if Bala and Sinceri leave, essentially, particularly with what Jason Kafusi had responsibility for, where he was coaching edges and interior D-line this year, and that included to some extent, in some aspects, Zoe Tup as a pass rusher, you could easily, like in that kind of situation, you could easily transition Kafusi to have responsibility for outside linebackers and edges, and with Akaika taking back over the interior defensive line as well as being your defensive coordinator, and then finding another inside linebacker coach, potentially an alum that might be floating out there looking for a coaching job, and then figure out a safeties coach. But certainly the one thing that I will say without hesitation, I feel much better about where we are right now in terms of Jed Fish needing to hire a defensive coordinator or a number of defensive coaches, in terms of including a defensive coordinator, than I would have said if Kalen DeBoer was still the head coach at the University of Washington, because everybody was tossing it in our face like, oh, Jed's going to be gone in a year, he's going to go to Florida. But like, here's an instance where Jed's extensive and myriad experience as a coach, as an assistant, where he went and he coached under so many different, under Harbaugh, under Carroll, under Belichick in the NFL, in college. This is a situation where it works to our advantage because Jed's got a huge Rolodex of people that he's worked with.
I was kind of looking at the defensive staff at UCLA, and it's a lot of guys in their first year in their position coach roles. That is definitely sealing the Akaika thing for me right now. Just off the strength that, he had to not only coach his personnel, but he had to like steer the coaches as well and the coaching staff as well.
Well, it's
Oh, sorry.
There is also speaking of linebackers, there is also a University of Washington alum that I believe is former. I believe he's at San Jose State now, but he's a former UW linebacker, and that's Scott White, and he spent some time at UCLA, and that's Scott White. Could be an interesting name if Bala does choose to depart and follow Steve and the Belichicks to North Carolina. Obviously, Court Dennison is out there as well, so there's some alums to choose from that know the game and know recruiting on the West Coast. So there's options out there, and like I said, Jed's got a pretty extensive network, and so I'm confident that we're going to be in good shape going forward.
Yeah, and I think the position coach element is going to be the more important part. If we end up losing Sinceri and Bala, there's a lot of, it's tough to kind of guess that. But, to be honest, there's a lot of NFL guys that are looking for opportunities to lead rooms and, really start from the ground up. You see the influence of Chip Kelly saying something like, I just wanted to get back to ball and coaching ball. I think
that worked out well for Ohio State.
Right now. It did not. But the sentiment,
the right mindset
that I wanted to just lock in on ball. I think a lot of these coaches are into that.
Yeah.
My question is, what ball was Chip locking into? Because it was like, and I don't know whether it came from Ryan Day that like we're gonna just like, hey, you know what? Even though we have all world athletes at wide receiver, and Michigan is missing their best corner and is weak in the pass defense, we're just gonna try and out tough and out ground and pound somebody. Is like,
I think
that doesn't make sense.
That's what they boosters wanted. That's what they fans wanted. That's what they personally wanted. That was the version that beat them for 3 years. They just wanted to prove we can beat you at your game instead of winning the game, which is, hey.
Well, hey, what you're saying though. Akaika, Malloy, he was the one that I would want, that we know of, but I would want something like the same thing that Jed did before, pulling someone from the NFL. I don't have a name, but from that standpoint, that's what I'm.
At the Green Bay Packers, it would be a hellacious hire as a defensive coordinator. For a year.
I think there aren't a lot of guys getting fired yet, and right now, I think that timeline also match what we needed to do.
True, yeah.
I didn't think it definitely doesn't match up now.
If you're hiring from the NFL, it's not going to help you in the winter portal.
That's a good point, though.
It depends. It depends.
You
on
can
who
leave
you're
now,
hiring
maybe.
from the
I've
NFL.
not seen that before.
I think, like I said, like I was referring to Robert Saleh, who's right now he's just an analyst.
There we go.
Yeah, you can hire an analyst. There you go. But
and that's a no-brainer, and the Packers would survive because they're not like, yes, they're losing an analyst, but the other thing to look at and where it might stretch the timetable a little bit is look at the trend that's happening of head coaches taking coordinator, from lower programs to, so like it's not inconceivable that the next defensive coordinator at the University of Washington is currently or has been a head coach somewhere at a lower level. So,
I mean, this is exactly it, but I just had to mention this. Did you guys see Charles Huff win his conference at Marshall and then go to the worst team in the conference, Southern Miss?
Well, because
that's crazy, bro.
It's because the backstory on that from what I heard on Split Zone Duo,
the AD, the department.
Well, there was significant conflict, and like it was a situation where Mark, like if he had not done what he did this year, he probably would have been let go by Marshall. And so like the writing was kind of on the wall, and so it's like it's a lateral move, but it's extending my time clock. It's like I could be at Southern Miss, and if I'm equally successful, I could still build into something else where it's like I'm gonna have to start back at square one, and like the minute I have a bad season at Marshall, I'm done.
Bro, it's wild too because before DeBoer's name popped up, Charles Huff was somebody I mentioned. Like somebody I would like for the. That's just that Alabama tree, bro. I was like, who's under Nick Saban? Should have chose Signetti, god dog it.
God, he's a good coach, but man, is he a dork.
Oh, I love that, bro. I love it. That version of it is just, where's that at? We need that more often in college football.
I don't know. Like I as much as sometimes it drives me crazy. Like I don't hate Jed's vibe. I do think it was funny. I will say, Jed's lied about, and shouts to Amber Fish, and Coach calling out that she asked him tougher questions about red zone execution than the media does.
Yeah, bro, come on, man. They be softballing them.
Keep it up, Mrs. Fish. We love it.
Hey, get me in that media room, and I promise y'all will get some fun questions. Y'all get some fun questions.
Our media credential might last like one conference.
Don't give it a tug.
What?
So just don't give it to Tug.
JCAP?
Just don't give it to Tug.
Don't give it to Tug. Nah, give it to Tugs.
Oh, all right. Any final thoughts, or should we call this one a show?
Oh yeah, we good.
Yeah,
I think we good. Well, thanks so much for listening to this wide-ranging and occasionally out-of-pocket conversation. As always, I didn't say it earlier, but we certainly we're on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Sound the Siren UW. Please like and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. But thanks so much for listening. Go Dogs, and we'll be back soon.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.